The yellow square has had many games. Each one a 3D model had to be created, and considering it's probably the thing you'll be looking at the most, you probably think they make it look good, yeah? Well, some are very good, others not so much. Dare I even say some are just plain bad. That's why I wanted to gather together as much 3D models as I could and give them the good old-fashioned ranking, the best models to the worst. That being said, I have some rules. Some models I couldn't get to work, and I couldn't find everyone from every game, so this isn't a definitive list, this is only what I could gather. Second, I'm gonna try to leave out costumes. I know he's got a lot of cool ones, but I'll be repeating myself a lot if we add every single one from every game. If SpongeBob has a costume in a game, and not his normal clothes, then I'll be adding that one too. Also, this list will just be SpongeBob, and not his friends. Patrick and Squidward have many models as well, but that'd be best to visit another episode. And lastly, but most importantly, this is my opinion. I don't expect your list to look the same as mine, and I mean no offense to you, or anyone who made these models. Your list can look different from mine, and that is okay. Okay, without further ado, let's dive into number 43. This doesn't seem to be any surprise that SpongeBob's best game would have SpongeBob's best model. Maybe I'm being a little biased here considering this is my favorite game, but it really feels like this is the best translation of SpongeBob in any game. Everything just feels very right about him, and this model would even be used in later games. Like this next one, SpongeBob SquarePantis the movie game. I had a hard time placing these two, and in reality they're probably tied considering just how close to one another these are. What can I say? They really nailed it in Battle for Bikini Bottom, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But they did try to fix it. Now I'm not saying this is awful, that's why it's only third on the list, but the Truth or Square model looks like he's missing something from the other two. Maybe it's the fact that this one isn't smiling, but even in-game, comparing Battle for Bikini Bottom and Truth or Square, the cutscenes, I just give the edge to the Battle for Bikini Bottom ones, hands down. Not bad, but also not their best. Creature from the Krusty Krab. I love this model. I might be breaking the rules on this list already, but his default model looks good too. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it was the same model as Battle for Bikini Bottom, which maybe not because they're different teams, but I didn't want to talk about the same model over and over again. Whenever this model happens to be on screen, I get so excited. He's just this stylized version of SpongeBob, and he looks so mean. I love it! Look at his one bloodshot eye, his cracking teeth, that angry forehead. Battle for Bikini Bottom SpongeBob is a classic as it gets, but if you want to get weird, this is where it's at for me. This one I don't think people are gonna agree with me, which is fine. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, including me. This model of SpongeBob has really grown on me. I think he really looks clean and spongy. I could easily look at this and say, oh yeah, if I squish that, that will be soft. I'm not sure what's going on here, by the way. I think a bunch of his face parts loaded in too. Ignore that. This model of SpongeBob comes from an arcade machine called Nicktoons Nitro, and I'ma say it, that is the best model of a net I've ever seen. I think what really does it for me for this model is the flatness of the face. I'm sure some people can call that cheap, saving on polygons, and really it's just a flat texture, but I don't know, I think it helps him look more cartoony, and really that's what we're going for here, translating a cartoon into a 3D model. And it's not the worst I've ever seen. This one's just not really doing it for me. This one is from Atlantis SquarePantis, and there's just a few things off about it. His holes don't look all that right. It looks like they were chiseled. I'm also not trying to let those floating eyes deduct points, but don't think I don't see you over there. You're creepy. His shirt and pants don't seem like they're connected either, which I'm sure is a fact because you could edit this model with clothes and whatnot in the game. It's a cool idea, but also might have needed the model to be more flexible and made SpongeBob not as much of himself as before. I don't know. This is SpongeBob in Nickelodeon Party Blast. There's some off models in this game, but I do think SpongeBob still looks very decent here. Again, it's just a texture, but I do think it's still 100% a safe way to make SpongeBob. This one honestly just looks like he's having a good time, and I really enjoy that. This SpongeBob looks very shiny. He comes from us from an old mobile game. You can't play it anymore, unfortunately. But he looks like he'd be a fun toy to play with, almost like a trophy. Again, it's a flat texture, but it's got divots in area that makes it look a little more 3D. I was honestly having a hard time placing these three specifically. The only reason why this one made it a little further down the line was because I was looking at the ones that felt the most SpongeBob to me. I don't know what it is about this one that I enjoy so much. He looks like something you win in a claw machine. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. Claw machines rule, especially if you get a good prize. And this one would be an awesome prize to get. This one just feels really SpongeBob, like a classic toy you get in the early 2000s. And only because of that, he has the slot that he has now. He also doesn't come from a game. He was a buddy for your avatar you could get on the Xbox Marketplace. And I just think that's really cool. This one I could also see people not understanding my reasoning on. It's a DS model. It's supposed to have very few polygons because it's not a powerful system, but honestly, I love him. There's also a lot to enjoy about this little yellow sponge, and part of me feels like his simplicity makes him really approachable. I also just really like his pixelated face. And hey, it looks good on the DS, so I'm sticking with my guns on this one. This guy too is so high up there, all for the same reasons as the other one we looked at. Simple, approachable, he feels like a Mario 64 model, and that might be what's helping me make my point. He feels very nostalgic. The only reason why this one is lower from the last one is he's slightly more blurry than the other. He also comes from a great game, Drawn to Life. Play it sometime, it's really good. Man, I feel really bad to say this, but the Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated model just kinda isn't doing it for me. Something about his eyes and face, it seems too small. I don't know, it feels really off. And I love the game, and I love the team that worked on it. I'm just not crazy about the model. There is some stuff here that I enjoy, like his pants. They got this texture that makes it really look like pants. So it's got that going for it. This one might be strange too. Some could argue this is SpongeBob's first 3D model, and he's very polygon-esque, but I think that's what I enjoy about it. I'm really trying not to let some form of nostalgia blind me from doing this list correctly, but screw it, it's my list, and I like the model. Also, I did a video on this game that this model comes from, and I really like that episode. If you care to watch it, check it out after this video. Okay, some more nostalgia blinding me. I played a lot of Nicktoons games, and I guarantee you, if you've seen this model, you knew exactly where this came from. I do feel like they had to do some liberties to make all the characters from different worlds look like they belong in one world, so I do think they needed to do some adjusting to SpongeBob. I still think he looks super fine, but comparing it to stuff above the list, I kinda like them a touch better. But dang it, this model isn't nostalgic for me. I was very surprised to see that all these models were tweaked in every single game. SpongeBob seems a little more saturated here in this game, which I'm not knocking. He still looks great. While I'll say the eyes in this model look better than the last, I just don't think it's as clean as the last one. This one is the last in the Nicktoons Unite series models I have, and it's from my favorite game from the series. These guys are all so close on the ranking to one another, but ultimately, I think this model is the most messy out of the three. Sorry, Toybots model. I still love you though. I'm so obsessed with the game that this model comes from, but don't let your nostalgic sway you on this one, Hayden. You gotta be realistic. This model, though you love it and you're very nostalgic for it, there's some better ones out there. I think there's just some edges that make it look a little off, and his eyes? Again, I love him, it's just not the best. I don't know what's off about this model. He seems good, but not the best. He's very average for me. Honestly, I think it might be his mouth. I think sometimes my preference is the 2D textures on some of this stuff. I don't know, he seems harmless, but he does nothing to make me bump him up. This one's the same as the last one. It just doesn't do much for me. Sure, it's good. Maybe I'm lacking a nostalgic quality with this guy. Maybe we just need to hang out, you know, maybe bond a little. Part of the reason why he's so low is he's got this baby arm thing going on. I don't know why that bothers me, but it does. What? Where is his eyes? I promise he doesn't look like that in the game. This, I think, is the same as the last one. He has some slight changes to him that doesn't do him any justice. And God, those eyes! I'm trying not to let that change my opinion, but oh, it's hard to ignore. Please don't haunt me, SpongeBob. Honestly, the last three I really consider being higher on the list, but there's just this thing where I'm like, no, I like the others better, and it's just as simple as that. These next two we're looking at are very similar. First, let's look at the Quitster SpongeBob. I love the Quitster. This model loaded a bunch of stuff that makes him look a little more creepy. Look at this instead. Ah, see? That one's nice. The next one that we're looking at is the same game, but it's a different character, so I wasn't sure if we should include him or not. But here we are. I did. These characters are both nice, but this is where the characters start to look a little off. A bunch of models also loaded weird on this one. I swear he doesn't look like this. He looks good in the game. We already looked at Truth or Square, Hayden. We did, but this one is the PSP version. Every model took a hit to fit on this little handheld. While it's not bad, his face does look like it caved in on itself, and he doesn't look like he's having the best of time. This one was also on the PSP. His nose normally doesn't look like that? Sorry? What really bothers me about this model is those eyes. They look like they've seen something. It's not a bad model, but it's also not the best one. I love Nicktoons racing. But SpongeBob here also looks like he's seen something. It's also his wide open mouth. He looks like he's about to consume me whole. The open mouth SpongeBob, it's not good for my heart. If you could humor me for a second as I do my best impression of this face. Thank you. Look, I've mocked some models for showing too much personality, but there's also some that don't show enough. Also, look at his eyelashes. You chop one of these down, I'd be scared that it'd land on my house. He looks like he belongs in the Grinch movie, like a background character. For being so simplistic, there's a lot to say about this model. I'm sure you've noticed the lack of legs, which you only see SpongeBob from the waist up in this game, so it makes sense that you would never see them. But looking through the bottom, it's a freaking ride, dude. There's also a texture on his back. It looks like it's the thing under his lip. You never see his back in the game, so I understand why they didn't fix it. What makes him so low on this list is SpongeBob, he's making a face I never wished to see. He's giving the sexy eye, alright? That's 100% what this face is. Listen, this one's nice. It also looks very similar to the one I placed pretty far up there, like number 30 or something. And I do like him, he just doesn't look all that clean, to be honest. He looks like he needs to be thrown back into the oven. I like polygons, but this is a lot. I don't know, I just think this one needs to be cleaned up a little more. Also, I talked about the game that this one comes from. If you got time after this episode, check that one out. We looked at this model already on the PSP, but this one was on the DS, and it had to make a lot of sacrifices to make it on that platform. They tried to give SpongeBob some smooth edges in the last one, but this one, he looks like a brick. Nope, this one feels off. I don't like him. His hands look very heavy, like he's trying to lift them up, but he just can't. His smile looks like Jim Carrey. He's got some strange edges. He's just not my favorite. Roblox had a SpongeBob skin from the second movie. I don't like the design of the hero SpongeBob from that movie, and I don't like it here either. Again, I think it's the eyes that do it for me. SpongeBob Boating Bash on the DS. Here's another one that feels off for me. There are 4 models of this guy. They used a specific one depending on the level of detail in a scene, or how far away the model was from you, the player. And this one was one of the better models. Well, this model isn't bad. It's probably the messiest model I've seen yet. There's polygons everywhere with no rhyme or reason, and while I think it's not nearly that good, it's leagues better than the counterpart from the last game. Am I being too harsh with this one? I feel no. Listen, SpongeBob Revenge of the Flying Dutchman is a game. I won't say if it's good or bad. It's just very strange. Is it his eyes? The cheek? The mouth? It's not bad, but comparing it to the others, I don't think it's good either. Gosh, maybe I'm being too harsh, but I do think it belongs lower on the list for me. From here on out, they're all gonna be bad. Almost all the problems I had with the other models, this one doubles down on. Wide eyes because it's seen something it didn't want to, messy polygons, baby arms? Again with the baby arms. Why the baby arms? As far as the eyes go, I feel like this one does them the worst. They're so far apart. I'm glad this one isn't messy, but it's not attractive, I'll tell you that much. Nighty Nightmares, yeah, I think they achieved the nightmare part of it. Just get it out of my face. Let's move on to the next one. If I'm counting the Xbox 360 Marketplace SpongeBob, I feel obligated to count this one too. He normally doesn't look like this, by the way. He normally looks like this, and this is Save Screen SpongeBob. When you open your PS2, you go to the save icons, and he's just there chilling. He's supposed to be simplistic and small, so he's doing his job well. Still, he made it to this list, and he will be judged accordingly. Oh yeah, baby. If we weren't in bootleg territory before, we're definitely in it now. This looks like something you buy at a shifty stall that you would find in the mall. It'd be called SpongeBob or something like that. Well, some of these are hard to look at. This one, I just can't look away. It's like a train wreck. We have entered Uncanny Valley, and I want to turn back. This is scary. Everything about this is scary. His face is so high. It also looks like it's about to fall off his body. It barely looks like it's in him to begin with. I'm so scared. This model might look familiar to you despite it coming from a very obscure game. This model has been used in memes, more specifically of him dancing. And while I love this, I hate this. Probably my least favorite angle right here. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. I don't remember SpongeBob looking anything like this in this game, but here he is. Jesus. This is also a newer game. It came out on Xbox 360, PS3, the Wii, and also the Wii U. And this guy is terrifying. If I saw this guy when I woke up at the edge of my bed, I would die of fright. And while this guy is scary, there are two more that are even worse. Oh yeah, soak this one in. Inhale it deeply and focus on it very, very closely. His eyes, his mouth open wide to consume you whole. He's so tall and skinny. This is not SpongeBob. This is an imposter. The edges are so sharp, I feel like I could cut myself with this model. But this isn't the worst. What if I were to say this was a fixed up model for cutscenes and the next model was for gameplay? Here we are. Isn't he beautiful? You know how I said a while back in entry number 10 was bad, but it wasn't as bad as the last game? This is the one from the last game. He looks like he's made of stone. If I dropped him in the lake, he would sink all the way to the bottom. He's got this uncanny eyes. His yellow seems kind of off, almost as if he's sick. Just to compare how off this guy is, let's look at the best model again and put them side by side. What an absolute difference. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. What do you guys think of the ranking? I had a lot of fun making this video, but it took way longer than I thought it would. Typically it's like 6 or 7 hours for me to make a video. This one felt like 9 or 10. It took so long. But thank you guys so much for watching. What really helps is if you guys like the video, leave a comment, or watch one of my other videos. That helps the channel out a lot, and quite frankly, I'd really appreciate it. But thanks again. Sorry for the lack of jokes this one. I'll see you in another episode. Goodbye!